So it's been a long cold winter, and I have one 4x4 square foot garden bed that I've kind of been neglecting. My other beds are doing great, but this one, I had a little problem with it last year. It was very dry. When I would water it, there would be puddling. There was not a lot of drainage. It would run off. We're just in the process of doing our winter chore, which is burning some downed wood, and I'm cleaning out the bed. So I want to share with you how we're going to make the best organic soil mix you could possibly ever make. And it's very simple. It's in the Square Foot Garden book. It's a third compost, a third peat, and a third vermiculite. If your soil is not draining well, like this, okay, you should water your soil. It should drain, it should not puddle, it should not run off. This is what you're looking for. If you don't have this, give this soil mix a try. You'll absolutely love it, and your plants will thrive. I have wonderful results using Mel's Mix, and so I'm going to show you how I do it. I'm going to top off and amend this one bed. One of the most important components of this soil mix is coarse vermiculite. It's a little hard to find. I went over this with you in a video a few years ago. I noticed that some other gardening channels also started to use this after that video, and there's a reason why. It's because it adds a lot of drainage and moisture, unlike perlite will add to your soil mix. Make sure you get coarse. I'll leave a link below the video. You can get this on Amazon. You can get it at a specialty nursery. A lot of times they will order it for you. If you live locally, Fifth Season Gardening carries it. So the other thing you'll want to add to your mix is peat moss, and I recommend that you get what's called a compacted peat moss versus loose. And when you go to the home improvement store, basically the compacted is just a big, looks like a big brick, and that will last you a very long time. You get so much more out of it than you do a loose packed peat moss. The next thing we're going to look at is compost. Now, early in the spring, I don't have compost out of my tumbler, so I buy a lot of different kinds. And what you need to do is just get, I recommend getting the highest quality that you can find, okay, that has a very good mix of different kind of ingredients. Don't use anything like topsoil, okay? So later in the summer, I'll have other things that I can add to my garden. I'll leave a link to that video if you'd like to check it out. But for now, I'm buying everything that I can find at the nurseries and the home improvement store. I also like to use black hen. This is a composted chicken manure. You can also use worm castings. Wonderful thing to use, but make sure if you're making your own worm castings to remove those worm cocoons. We want a vegetable bed, not a worm bed, okay? Now, please do not use any kind of compost or biosolids that come from sewage sludge. I cannot tell you how often I've seen people going to a municipality and getting this free compost and using it in their vegetable garden. Don't do this. These toxins are not going to remove over time from the biosolids breaking down. All right, there'll still be toxins in there. If you want to put that around some of your landscaping, like your bushes or whatever, that might be fine, but I would suggest not using something like this in your garden bed. So I am just going to top off one of my beds. It needed a good, I guess facelift. I haven't really given it much attention over the past several years. So I am just going to go ahead and mix all of my compost first. And I'm not mixing the other ingredients yet, because what I want to do is mix all this up and then put aside a couple of bags so that I will have that in the early spring when all of my seeds start to come up in my native soil and in the Square Foot Garden bed. So this is just something that I will put aside. I'm putting aside 2 big bags of compost. And I like to put compost out in my native soil like right now, and then when I plant my onions and they start coming up, and my echinacea and all these wonderful things that start to greet us in the spring, like dill and cilantro, this is what I'll use to side dress them. I don't use fertilizer. I just side dress my plants about every 3 weeks to a month, okay? And that just kind of breaks down slowly, and it improves my soil over time. So that's what I do. So now I just want to go ahead and mix my soil. So if you're doing a very large project, you can use a tarp. This is what I used last year at the square foot garden at the river, and that makes it easy. You may also want to have a hose nearby where you can spray it to keep the peat moss from flying in the air, and you might inhale it, or wear a mask because it gets kind of dusty. But that's an easy way to mix a large volume. Remember, we're mixing this by volume and not weight. So I just kind of eyeball it. I'm not always a perfectionist. I've been doing this, I guess, about 8 years now, so I kind of have an idea what it's supposed to look like. So this is how I do it. So I'm just going to do this in a wading pool since I'm not mixing up a lot for this one bed here. We'll go ahead and give it a good mix. It should be a nice light brown color when you're done. And remember, I continually add compost to the bed throughout the garden seasons. The compost is what is going to feed your plant and not the other things. So the other things in my soil, though, have been breaking down, and I don't have the drainage any longer in this soil. I'm kind of out of frame here, but I wanted to kind of show you what it looked like. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. I should have much better drainage this season in this bed. Okay, so there you go. I'll just mix it up and I can get to planting. So I hope you can give this wonderful soil mix a try, and it is beautiful. My seeds come up so nicely with this soil, and it retains water so well. If you already have a square foot garden and it's not retaining moisture, you may need to just freshen it up a little bit. So there you go. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please let me know by giving me a big thumbs up. Also, feel free to share this on your favorite social media. I sure would appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching, and y'all have a beautiful day.